I never expected my own brother to turn on me after our father's sudden. One missing signature changed everything, and a $380,000 inheritance disappeared overnight. What followed was a spiral of lies, betrayal, and a secret so dark it nearly tore us all apart. My name's Nathan Cole. I'm 41 years old, and until 3 months ago, I thought I knew exactly who I was: a middle child, a struggling contractor, divorced but still hopeful. That illusion died the same day my father did it, and maybe a part of me went with him. It started at 2:47 a.m. with my phone vibrating off the nightstand. "Nate," my sister Jess whispered. "It's Dad. He's gone." The words landed like concrete in my chest. I sat up, blinking at the ceiling fan above me, unable to process. "Wait, what do you mean gone?" He collapsed in the garage. Heart attack. Nick found him. Nick, my older brother. Golden boy. Always knew how to say the right thing at family dinners. Always managed to be Dad's favourite, no matter what he did. I drove down to Dad's house in Newark, still wearing the t-shirt I'd fallen asleep in. The driveway was full of flashing lights, police tape fluttering in the breeze. Nick was already outside, talking to a uniformed officer, arms folded tight across his chest like a statue. He didn't cry. Not once. When he saw me, he nodded. That was it. No hug. No words. Inside, Jess sat on the living room couch, eyes puffy and red. She looked up. They're saying it was fast, painless. I couldn't speak. I just sat beside her, feeling the air buzz with something unspoken. Dad had been healthy. He jogged. Drank green smoothies. The kind of guy who'd call you out if you added too much salt to your eggs. A heart attack. The funeral was 4 days later. Small, quiet. Closed casket. After the service, the three of us met with Dad's lawyer, Mr. Kessler, in his dusty downtown office. The room smelled like old books and wood polish. I remember the way the light cut through the blinds in strips. Kessler cleared his throat. "Your father's will was updated 6 months ago. He named Nick as executor." I glanced at Jess. She shifted uncomfortably. Nick just leaned back in the leather chair, arms behind his head. Kessler continued, "The estate is worth approximately $580,000. House, savings, insurance, and 2 vintage Mustangs. He divided it equally among the 3 of you." I exhaled. Tension I didn't even realize I had leaving my body. However, Kessler said, slowly adjusting his glasses to proceed with distribution, "All 3 of us must sign the release document." Nick signed his. Jess signed. "Nathan, I don't have yours." I frowned. "I haven't seen any documents." Nick cut in smoothly. "I gave him the papers a week ago. He said he needed time." That was a lie. "What? No, you didn't." I stood up, heart pounding. "I never got anything." Kessler looked confused. Jess went pale. Nick stared at me, ice cold. "Don't do this here." "Do what, Nick?" He turned to Kessler. "He's trying to stall. He wants more than a third." The room felt suddenly smaller. Hot. "You forged my... Nathan." Kessler's voice was firm. "Let's keep this civil." I stood there, chest heaving, as the man who used to be my brother smirked like he already knew he'd won. That was the moment I knew something was wrong. Not just grief. Not just confusion. Something darker. Jess touched my arm, whispering, "Talk to me later. There's something I need to tell you. About Dad." That she never got the chance. That night, someone broke into my apartment. And the only thing missing was the signed copy of the will. I stood in my apartment doorway at 3:12 a.m., barefoot on the cold tile, staring at the mess. Drawers yanked up. Papers tossed everywhere. My laptop smashed. But it wasn't random. It wasn't some junkie looking for electronics. Fiber folder where I'd stashed the unsigned will the one Nick swore he gave me was gone. And just like that, my word became meaningless. The cop showed up 30 minutes later. 2 uniforms, sleepy-eyed and unimpressed. "Anything valuable missing?" one of them asked, scribbling on a pad. "Just documents." He blinked. "Like passports?" "No, a will. Legal stuff." That earned me a raised eyebrow. "Any signs of forced entry?" I shook my head. My stomach was in knots. "I lock everything." He wrote something down. "No cameras." I didn't answer. They left me with a case number and a brochure about home security. By noon, I was at Jess's apartment in Montclair. Her eyes widened when she saw me. "You look like hell." "They broke in," I said flatly. "They took the will." Her face went pale. "Jesus, you think it was Nick?" "I know it was." She closed the door behind me, pulling me into the kitchen. A pot of half-burnt coffee sat on the stove. "Nate, you need to be careful," she said. "You don't know what you're stepping into." That caught me off guard. "What's that supposed to mean?" She hesitated, looking like she was choosing each word carefully. "Dad didn't trust Nick," she said finally. "He told me so, the few weeks before he died." "What? Then why make him executor?" He didn't, that's the thing. He told me he was going to switch it to you, said you were the only one he trusted not to turn blood into business. I stared at her. And then he dies of a heart attack. Jess nodded slowly, and the woman magically disappears from my apartment. We sat in silence for a long moment. Then she said something that changed everything. Dad also told me there was another account. Offshore, hidden. He didn't want it touched until after we were gone. I blinked. Hidden? How much? She whispered the number. 380,000, maybe more. I felt like I'd swallowed a brick. Jess handed me an old notebook. One of Dad's, full of neat cursive writing. She flipped to a page marked with a red tab. Scrolled across it was a string of letters and numbers, a Swiss bank's name, and a simple instruction. Only trust Jess or Nay. I stared at the page, skin prickling. Then Jess whispered, I think Nick found out, and I think he killed Dad. I froze. Jess, that's a hell of an accusation. Look at the timing. Dad changed the executor, then he dies, Nick forges your signature, then that bank account. She gripped my hand. You're not crazy. You're not alone. My phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. Stop digging or you'll end up like him. I showed Jess. Her lips parted, terrified. And then, from the hallway, a knock at the door. 3 sharp raps. Too calm. Too late at night. Jess whispered, Did you tell anyone you were coming here? I hadn't. We stared at each other. The doorknob started to turn. I lunged for the door and shoved the deadbolt in place just as the handle twisted all the way. Jess gasped and backed into the kitchen, grabbing the nearest thing, a cast iron skillet. I didn't laugh. Not this time. I whispered, Call the cops. She was already dialing. On the other side of the door, silence. Then a voice, muffled but unmistakable. Nathan, I just want to talk. Nit. I felt something twist in my gut. The calm, measured tone he always used when he was lying. I stepped closer to the door. Get lost. I know you've been talking to Jess, he said, louder now. You don't know what you're doing. You think you've got some moral high ground. You're screwing everything up. Jess joined me, phone pressed to her ear. Cops are 5 minutes out. Nick's voice dropped to a new growl. I don't trust her. Nathan, she's not telling you everything. I froze. What the hell does that mean? I shouted. But he was already gone. I flung the door open just in time to see his silver Lexus peel out from the curb, taillights vanishing into the dark. The police came. Took a report. Asked questions they already knew the answers to. We didn't sleep. The next morning, we drove to Dad's old storage unit, a dusty place outside East Orange he used to call his memory vault. He always kept old tax files, receipts, stuff no one cared about. But we were hoping for something more. We found it in a battered manila envelope tucked inside a box labelled 2007 taxes. Inside were copies of Dad's will, 2 versions. One with Nick as executor. One with my name on it, dated 3 months later. Both signed. But the second one? Not notarized. My pulse kicked up. Is this enough to prove? No, Jess said. But it could raise questions, especially with the notebook. We scanned the documents and hid the originals in the lockbooks of my bank. That night, I drove back to my apartment. Jess stayed with her boyfriend in Hoboken, just to be safe. I sat in my living room staring at the screen of my cracked TV. I didn't even realize I'd dozed off until my phone buzzed again. It was 2:04 a.m. A message from Jess. He's been watching me. Then, seconds later, a photo. Taken from a distance. Grainy, but clear enough. It showed Nick's Lexus idling across from her boyfriend's apartment building. I called her. No answer. Tried again. Voicemail. I jumped into my truck, speeding through empty streets like my tires were on fire. My hands gripped the wheels so tight my knuckles turned white. I found her car still parked in the driver. The apartment door was wide open. Inside, it looked like a hurricane had hit. Chairs knocked over. A broken lamp. Jess's phone lying face down on the tile floor. No sign of her. Then I saw it. Taped to the fridge. A single piece of notebook paper. Dad's handwriting unmistakable. If something happens to me, start with the year 1992. Ask your mother. She knows. My blood ran cold. 1992 was the year Jess was born. But it was also the year Mom left us for 3 months. And none of us ever talked about why. I sat on the floor staring at the note like it was a live wire. My pulse was hammering in my ears. I hadn't thought about that year in forever. Mom left suddenly, said she was visiting a sick aunt in Pennsylvania. Dad never spoke about it. When she came back, everything just resumed. Like nothing happened. But I remembered the tension. The whispered arguments behind closed doors. The way Dad avoided looking at her that whole summer. And now this. I left the apartment shaking, dialing Mom's number on the way to her place in Maplewood. She answered on the 3rd ring. Nathan, it's after 3. Where's Jess? I blurted out. Is she with you? Silence. No, why would she be? She's missing. Nick's involved. I found a note from Dad or something about 1992. He said ask you. The line went dead quiet. Then she whispered, "Oh my God." I swerved onto the exit ramp. "Mom, what happened that year?" More silence. Then, slowly, you were 10, Nick was 12, Jess wasn't born yet, and I was pregnant. I blinked. Yeah, was Jess. No, she said softly. With someone else's child. My hands tightened around the wheel. What? I had an affair, Nathan. I met someone, a man I worked with at the county office. It was stupid. I thought I was in love. I left your father to be with him. She sniffled. But it didn't last. He left me when I was 5 months pregnant. I came back, and your father took me in. He raised Jess as his own. The air left my lungs. You mean Jess isn't Dad? He knew, she said. He always knew, but he loved her. God, he loved you all so much. I slammed the brakes in front of her house and ran to the door. She was already there, shaking, eyes rimmed with red. Does Nick know? She hesitated, then nodded. Your father told him last year. That's when everything started changing. Suddenly, it all clicked. Nick the golden son, always chasing Dad's approval. The will. The secret bank account labelled only for Jess or Nate. The note about 1992. Sudden. And now Jess gone. I whispered. He's trying to erase her, to erase the proof. Mom staggered back into the hallway, hand over her mouth. Oh my God, Nate, if Nick knows, he would it. I'm not letting that happen, I said. Not again. Then my phone rang. Block number. I answered. A voice distorted, mechanical said, You want your sister back, bring the notebook and the documents, alone, no cops. A pause. 1 hour, the quarry off Route 17, you know the place. Then silence. The call cut. Mom looked at me, horror in her eyes. The quarry, where Dad used to take us as kids. Where Nick once pushed me off a ledge when I was 12 and called it an accident. That place was empty for miles. If I went alone, I might not come back. But if I didn't, Jess wouldn't either. I looked down at Dad's notebook in my hands. The last page had something I hadn't noticed before, faint indentations, like someone had written on a page above it. I rubbed pencil over it. One word emerged. Test. What the hell had Dad been planning? And why did it feel like he knew this moment would come? At 4:21 a.m. I stood on the edge of the abandoned quarry off Route 17, the wind whipping dirt against my face. It was colder than it should have been in August. Or maybe that was just adrenaline. The moon hung low, casting long shadows across the jagged rocks. I hadn't been here in 20 years, but I remember the path. The steep drop where Nick shoved me as a kid. A scar on my elbow still tingled. I had Dad's notebook in my backpack, and a flash drive with the scanned wheels. No gun. No backup. Just rage and a deep, gnawing fear I couldn't shake. Headlights flared in the distance, then cut out. Nick's Lexus. He stepped out calmly, dressed like he was going to a board meeting, press shirt, Rolex, no sign of sweat, like he hadn't just kidnapped our sister. Glad you made it, he called. Where is she? He smirked. Safe for now. I kept my distance. You don't have to do this. Oh, but I do, Nathan. You think this is about money? He laughed bitterly. This is about everything, the lies, the favoritism, Dad treating me like a baron while coddling her. He pointed into the dark. She's not even his blood, and he left her a secret account. Called her his legacy. You think that's fair? My voice trembled. So what? You killed him. He didn't flinch. I helped nature along. I stepped back. He had pills, thought meds. I swapped them, gave him potassium supplements, harmless in small doses, lethal if you've got a bad heart. My stomach turned. You sick yet? He raised a hand. Don't get moral now. You think he was a saint. He knew about Mom, about Jess. He played us all. I just leveled the board. You forged the will. He shrugged. Easy, Dad had a clunky printer. Kessler never checked the digital files, just printed what I gave him. And the break-in? The threats? I tried to scare you off, but you're too damn stubborn. I reached into my bag slowly, pulled out the notebook and flash drive. Held them out. You want it, take it, just let Jess go. He walked forward and not rushing, just confident. Always the charmer. The manipulator. He reached up, and I dropped the notebook into the quarry. His eyes widened. What the hell? It's backed up, all of it, including your little confession just now. I pointed to my phone in my shirt pocket, the red light blinking. Nick's face cracked for the first time. You were bluffing. I'm not, I said. And if I don't call Jess's phone in 5 minutes, my lawyer sends everything to the police. Kessler gets the files, the real will, the video, your confession. He lunged. I barely ducked. We grappled, boots skidding on gravel, every movement echoing across the quarry. He swung and missed. I landed a punch to his ribs, but he was stronger. Desperate. He drove me back toward the ledge. You think Jess is innocent? He spat. You think she didn't know she was his? You think she didn't use it? What are you talking about? He laughed. Dad told her everything. She didn't tell you because she knew you'd side with him. She kept it hidden to protect herself. I blinked. No, that's not. She manipulated you, Nate, just like she did him. I faltered. And that's when he grabbed me by the collar. Game over. But before he could push me, a loud crack split the air, and Nick collapsed like a rag doll. Behind him stood Jess, holding a tire iron, shaking, tears streaming down her face. Don't touch my brother. She dropped the iron with a thud. Nick groaned on the ground, coiled in on himself, coughing up dust and bile. The tire iron clattered a few feet away, blood smeared across its edge. Jess was still trembling, chest heaving like she couldn't breathe. I rushed to her. Are you okay? Did he hurt you? She nodded, slowly. He locked me in a basement, not his house, some rental up in Montville. I found a loose beam, kicked it out, ran. I hitchhiked here. I didn't know if you'd be alive. I pulled her into a hug. She sobbed into my shoulder. Behind us, Nick writhed but didn't get up. He's not done, she whispered. He never is. I pulled out my phone. The red recording light still blinking. You heard everything? She nodded. Then her face changed a mix of pain and guilt. She stepped back. Nate, there's something you should know. My stomach sank. What now? She swallowed. I knew I wasn't dead. I've known since I was 17. I found an old letter in Mom's closet. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to be less to you. I stared at her. Jessa, I thought if you knew, you'd look at me like Nick did, like I didn't belong. I'd never. She wasn't done. And the money, the offshore account, Dad told me about it 2 years ago, said it was for both of us, but he made me promise not to tell Nick. He never said why. You still could have told me. I was scared, Nate, of what it meant, of becoming like him, like Nick. Greedy, manipulative. You were the only one who ever made me feel like I was actually part of the family. I exhaled slowly. The wind whipped around us, sharp with the scent of stone and dust. I looked at Nick, wheezing on the ground, blood leaking from his mouth. I thought about leaving him here, letting Comma finish the job. But Jess gripped my hand. We're not like him. We called the cops. When they arrived, we handed over the recording, the flash drive, and told them everything. Jess gave her statement. So did I. Nick was cough, read his rights. Even then, he didn't look afraid. Just furious. You'll regret this, he spat as they shoved him into the cruiser. You're throwing away our family. I looked him dead in the eye. You did that a long time ago. 3 weeks later, the will was re-examined. With Dad's handwritten notes, the alternate version, and Nick's own confession on tape, a judge invalidated his forged copy. Kessler resigned and shame turns out he hadn't verified the signature trail properly and ignored glaring inconsistencies. Jess and I inherited everything, the house, the cars, the $580,000 plus the offshore funds Dad left, totaling over $970,000 after taxes. We sold the house, split everything down the middle, but Jess donated her half, all of it, to a non-profit for foster teens. When I asked her why, she said, because I already have what I want. I didn't understand at first, but I do now. Family isn't blood. It's who shows up at 4 a.m. with a tire iron to save your life. Then, just when I thought the dust had settled, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside, a faded photograph of Dad, smiling, standing next to a man I'd never seen before. On the back, in Dad's handwriting, protect your sister, like he once protected you. I'm below that. Named Thomas Kellner. Biological father. None dead. Living in Scranton. I stared at the photo until my vision blurred, and I realized there was still one more secret left to uncover. I sat at my kitchen table, the photo in one hand, black coffee in the other, as early morning sunlight crept through the blinds. The man beside Dad, Thomas Kellner, had dead tight Jess's eyes and a grin that looked painfully familiar. I couldn't stop staring at it. Protect your sister, like he once protected you. The words played on repeat in my head like some ancient riddle I was just starting to understand. Why now? Why send this after everything? Was Dad warning me about something else? Or asking me to do something he never could? I didn't tell Jess right away. She was still healing physically, emotionally, all of it. We were both in therapy, both trying to build something out of the wreckage Nick left behind. But 2 weeks later, I couldn't keep it in. We were sitting on a park bench in Melbourne, watching kids toss frisbees under a fat orange sunset. I handed her the photo. She didn't say anything for a long time. Just stared. Her fingers trembled slightly. Is that him? She asked softly. Thomas Kellner, I said. Your real father. According to Dad, he's still alive. She held the photo to her chest. You want to find him? I think you should decide that. Jess looked at me, her voice barely above a whisper. Do you think Dad hated me because of him? No, I said. I think Dad was trying to protect you from Nick, from the truth, from everything. She nodded, tears welling up. He raised me like I was his, even after Mom came back, even knowing. That's love, I said. Real love, not blood. A week later, we drove to Scranton. Jess was quiet the whole ride, clutching the photo in her lap like a compass. We found Thomas living in a small brick house on a quiet street, an old motorcycle in the driveway, rust crawling across the chrome. He opened the door slowly. Grey hair, sharp jawline, same eyes. He froze when he saw Jess, and started crying. Not just his, full body sobs, like he'd been holding his breath for 20 years. I thought I'd never see you. Jess didn't say anything, just stepped forward and hugged him. 2 months later, Nick was sentenced to 18 years without parole for fraud, forgery, obstruction, and attempted murder. The court never proved Dad's death was induced, but his taped confession sealed the rest. He didn't look at us once during sentencing. Jess and I didn't speak. We didn't need to. Justice had spoken for us. We moved on. Sort of. I bought a small house in Montclair with a backyard and a lemon tree. Jess started working part-time at the non-profit she donated to. And Thomas? He became part of our lives slowly, carefully. No big declarations. Just presence. One day, while sorting through more of Dad's old boxes, I found something. An old voicemail cassette. Dated August 9th, 1992. I played it. Dad's voice crackled through the static. Tom, if you ever come back for her, but not unless you're ready to stay, and if I'm gone by then, tell me, he'll do the right thing. I sat there for a long time after it ended. Not because I was shocked, but because I finally understood. Dad hadn't just left us clues. He trusted me with the truth. And in the end, I did the right thing.